Welcome to Simply Christianity. In this week's video, I want to talk about heaven and what Christians believe about it. To start off, I want to talk about what traditionally is meant by heaven. So if you think of the word heaven, what typically comes to mind is going to be, pearly gates, golden streets, these giant lavish buildings, green fields and forests and blue water running through them, really nice pictures. But getting beyond the pictures and getting to like the basic ideas, usually it consists of a place you go after you die. So it's an afterlife. A place you go after you die. You never die again. So you live forever, and you experience perfect and amazing happiness, great happiness, and never experience any kind of suffering, pain. Anything like that, sickness. It's a perfect place to be. It's pretty much synonymous in our minds as the perfect place to live, and you live there forever. And you're probably thinking, well, that's exactly how Christians describe heaven. And you'd be right. Christians definitely believe this about heaven. They probably believe all that. The picture stuff, some of them will say is figurative, some of them will say is literal. But the other part, the idea part, they're all universally pretty much believe that that's, a good description of heaven. But the problem with describing heaven this way, I think, is that you're not really telling people what it actually is. See, heaven isn't just this place you go and live forever and be happy. It definitely entails that. That definitely describes what it's like to be in heaven, right? But that's not what it is. It might sound confusing and counterintuitive to what I'm saying, but let me just get right to what heaven actually is then. So heaven is living in perfect relationship with God, no longer being separated from Him, and being in what Christians would call His very real presence. And what we mean by this, again, is that we're no longer separated. And if you're lost, I would encourage you to watch this video, The Picture of Christianity, where I kind of explain this idea of kind of Christianity is all about this relationship with God. And to briefly paraphrase, to give you a basic understanding for the sake of this video, is we are created for this relationship, so our purpose, our joy, our happiness stems or comes from God Himself. And when we're in that relationship, that's when we experience these things. And that's where fulfillment comes from in life, is this relationship with God. But in our sinfulness and pride and rebellion, we've rejected Him and we've said we can do it our own way. We want to find our own, fulfillment, our own joy. And this has only led to suffering, pain, because we simply weren't created for it. We weren't created to live on our own, separated from God. So this brings us to heaven. Heaven is being reunited with God. And again, in this video, I explain a little bit more about, what Jesus Christ does for this process, why Jesus Christ saves us from our current state to get us to heaven. But the end goal, the end of that video that I talk about, that's heaven, reunited with God, being with Him forever in eternity, right next to Him, in this loving relationship with Him, no longer separated by our sin. That is what heaven is. And because we're created for that, our joy, which is a term Christians like to use instead of happiness, and I'll make a video about that in the future as to why we prefer that word. But our joy, happiness, fulfillment, meaning, purpose, everything comes from God. And so only when we are in a perfect relationship with Him and not separated from Him can we live forever in happiness and joy. Can we actually, experience what we were meant to experience and not experience death, suffering, sickness, all these things that we experience here on earth daily. So, just to recap, heaven is being in a relationship with God without any kind of separation. And because that's what heaven is, the other things follow from that. So all the general ideas that many people have, that many religions even talk about heaven, come from that. That relationship with God, though, is what makes those things possible. It's God doesn't just make this place and stick us there. We're not trying to reach this magical land or destination. We're trying to reach a person, and that person is God. And if we understand that, if you can understand heaven in this way, which I know it's a little hard because it's not really intuitive, especially given what we usually mean by the word heaven. But if you can understand heaven in this way, the rest of Christianity really starts to make a lot more sense. Because again, you're not being a Christian, you're not following Jesus in order to make it to this magical place. You're following Jesus to have a relationship with him. You're following Jesus Christ so that you can be reunited with him forever. So you're really chasing a person and not a place. And if you have this in mind, Christianity makes a lot more sense. I hope this video was helpful. I know that this topic can be confusing, so please comment below if you have any questions whatsoever. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Also, comment below on video ideas. I'm always trying to come up with good and interesting topics to discuss each week. And it'd be great if anyone would please just comment below what you want to hear about, what questions you might have about Christianity, anything. I'm up for anything, so please comment that below. Last thing, please hit the subscribe button if you want to hear, come up with updates of new videos and stay up to date with what I'm doing here on this channel. You can also like my Facebook page, Simply Christianity. That also, I'll post the videos there as well. Finally, I'd just like to thank all the people who've been watching my videos. I've reached a lot more people a lot faster than I thought I would, and I just want to really thank everyone for doing that. And I also want to thank the 10 subscribers I have. Again, I thought it would take forever to reach double digits, but you guys are great. And I just thank you so much, because that just shows me that people care about the content I'm putting out, and it also helps other people see it and hopefully learn from it. So have a good week, and stay tuned for what I've got planned next.